Once you have finished knitting all your squares, you will need to block them. On your ironing board, mark out with pins the size that you wish your squares to be. Take each square, one at a time, and pin to the required size. If using acrylic yarn, make sure your iron is set to a low heat, else you will melt the yarn. Once you have pinned the square to the size required, use the water sprayer on your iron to dampen the material. Once you have stretched the square to the size required, place a piece of cloth over your knitting to protect it. Give the square a good iron. Re-stretch to the size required if needed and iron again. Once you are happy with the shape of your square, leave it to dry and then repeat with the next square. Once you have finished blocking your squares, lay them out in the order that you want to sew them together. First, sew together all the squares in each row. Thread your needle by pinching the end of the yarn between your finger and thumb and pushing it through the eye of the needle. We will be sewing each square together as shown. Place 2 squares together, right side facing as shown. Simply sew together using a running stitch all the way along the edge. Make sure your first stitch is right at the end. Identify a line of knitted stitches and try and stitch all the way along this line. Once you have sewn each row of squares together, you can then sew all the rows together. Place one row on top of the other row, right sides facing, and pin in place. Then continue with the running stitch and sew all the way along the row. You want to make sure that you are stitching all the squares together in the same way and that the seams are all facing the same side of the blanket.